We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles McKenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip. When it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Arr, fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
This is an ad by BetterHelp. BetterHelp recently surveyed over 16,000 people and found that while 75% of people believe it's wise to seek support, only 27% of Americans are in therapy, and people stay silent to avoid being judged. BetterHelp has over 10 years of experience matching you with the right therapist, because we're all better with help. Visit BetterHelp.com/stopthestigma for their first ever State of Stigma report, the latest in mental health research.
This is VSiN PrimeTime. Live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We are off and running on a very busy Tuesday night, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tim Murray, live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas, joined by my ginger brother, Will Hill, tonight. And Will, well, we found out just moments ago the speculation. Kenny Atkinson said, yeah, it doesn't look great. No Evan Mobley, no Darius Garland, no DeAndre Hunter tonight for the Cavaliers as they are down 0-1 to the Indiana Pacers. The line has reacted, and right now, market-wide, it is down to 5.5 for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But the question, Will, as this game will tip off here in about 5-10 minutes, has it gone far enough when you're looking at 3 starters, 3 contributors being out? We know Garland obviously didn't play in Game 1. What do we make of this line as it has gone down to 5.5 moments before tip-off?
Yeah, when you see the injury report trickling the last couple of days, you wonder, is this gamesmanship? Who's going to play? Who isn't? It's such a tricky handicap because we've talked about this situation before where teams lose Game 1 at home. They tend to, and I'm not a huge trends guy, but this is one trend I think is really tried and true. The team that loses Game 1 at home tends to absolutely not just win Game 2, but roll in Game 2. Win, cover comfortably, win comfortably. So you've got 2 things battling here. You've got the spot that screams Cleveland, but you got the injury situation that says, how the hell am I laying points with this team that's a shell of itself? If I had to take it or lay it, knowing what I currently know, I'd probably take it just because you're talking about 3 guys that are missing and Mitchell banged up too. So that's just too many injuries for me to lay points. I understand the situation nudges itself to Cleveland, but I would take it or lay it. I'm curious what you think, but I think this is something that, a good reminder, and I was probably too late on it too. When you get major injury news, cluster injuries in the NBA with stars, in the NFL or college, a quarterback goes out, they're pretty quick to move the stuff you're thinking of where, all right, let me take the points with the Pacers. Well, it already moved. Sometimes where you can catch a break, where you can catch them napping a little bit, the derivatives. Mahomes is out. They don't move the Chiefs team total. They don't move the first half team total. In a situation like this, I was looking, and I'm still looking. Curious people that are listening, if you catch anything, let us know. Series spread, correct series score. Where if these injuries are significant going forward, sometimes there's value in that stuff. So try to think outside the box. When you got major injury news and it's breaking and you see the tweet from Shams, and there's no Woj anymore, so from Shams, don't just think, all right, I'm going to grab the points, because chances are unless you're getting ahead of it and Shams hasn't tweeted it yet, you're probably late to it. But sometimes that other stuff, those derivative markets, can be a little slower to move. So with that being said, you're taking it or you're laying it here with the 5.5?
I think at this point I'd have to take it, with the injuries. I do wonder, and, the beauty of our show, right? Game's going to start here in a couple of minutes. Let's see how it feels here early on. I was just asking Mitch Moss as he was walking out of the studio, who steps up in the the news, right? And the obvious would be Donovan Mitchell. His over-under sitting at 32.5 at DraftKings for his points tonight, so a massive uptick there. But do you look at someone like Ty Jerome, who, look, he was not afraid on Sunday to be jacking up shots, but Is this the spot where he potentially steps up? Do you go a little bit of outside the box thinking, as you alluded to, from the derivative market? Do you look at from some of these other, other pieces? But I'll say this, as I look at the betting market right now, at least at DraftKings, not a lot of options for the Cleveland Cavaliers because they're looking at, the books are no dummies. They're going to pull down a lot of the, the role players because, they're going to have an opportunity on the other side, right, to potentially step up. So you're getting the main pieces, the Donovan Mitchells, the Ty Jeromes, the Jared Allens, but a lot of the other pieces a little bit further down that you think maybe they could be a unique potential opportunity there. You're not really getting those options. So once again, tip-off coming up here in just a matter of moments between the Indiana Pacers and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the market, it seems like 5.5. We're going to talk to Jeff Sherman from the Westgate Superbook coming up at the top of the next hour, Wes. We also have Wes Reynolds on, Will, so that's why Wes is on my mind. But it seems like 5.5 is that spot where you're starting to see maybe the pushback. The Superbook just went to 6. Circa's kind of been bouncing between 5.5, 6. So it seemed like early rush of money came in on the Indiana Pacers with this news of Mobley, Garland, and Hunter all being out. But now maybe it seems like 5.5 is that settling in point with the injuries.
Yeah, and it's hard to know, who's worth how many points. Mobley's probably worth a point or so. I don't know. Hunter by himself is not going to move the line. Who's the other one?
Garland.
Who
Garland missed game
Garland
one.
will move the line slightly. I think it's just the fact that it's the cluster, and that'll be an interesting question to ask Jeff. Don't ask him. I want to ask. I want to save the good question for me. I want to ask Jeff.
I'll let you.
Just how you price this stuff in terms of how you get to the 4.5 point adjustment. Because remember, this got up to 10.5. So that is tricky when you're talking about so many different injuries, moving parts. Again, these guys by themselves aren't worth 2 points each, but you start to add them up together. Maybe even the 5's not enough. I don't know. It's a very unique situation. And to your point about who steps up, I don't see him listed on DraftKings again. We're kind of dealing with this as it's breaking. Sam Merrill? Could Sam Merrill be a guy who could shoot? You could dust him off, get some offense out of him. That might be one that makes sense to me. I don't know. Anyone jump to your mind?
It's so funny because that's exactly who Mitch Moss had said, hey, maybe Sam Merrill's the guy that you look at in that, unique market. I don't see it at DraftKings. If folks out there see them at Not The Will Hill, at one Tim Murray. So tip-off coming up in just a little bit. Once again, the market is settling in at 5.5. You're starting to see some under money come in as right now Circa has dipped all the way down to 226.5. I mean, look, it's always fun to say, man, what could have been? But yesterday you could have got 10.5 with the Indiana Pacers, and now they're sitting at 6.5. Really, when we were on the air last night, I thought we did a pretty good job, outside of anticipating Oklahoma City running away and hiding from the Denver Nuggets. But I thought we did a good job, Will, of recognizing the Cleveland uncertainty and someone that, you and I not really racing to back from a standpoint of the zigzag, the bounce back, just because of this uncertainty from the injury standpoint. How about this over at when you look at the series price, I get it, they're down 0-1, but I mean, they're already all the way down to minus 190 to win this series. So a pretty big move there when it comes to this series price as this game about to tip off here. Later tonight, of course, we get Minnesota and Golden State as well, Will, out there in the Twin Cities.
Does this change how you feel about the series?
Yeah, so I'm going to switch my pack here, Will. So we're going to do a little live troubleshooting on the air. There we go.
No, because I was looking at correct series score, and I see one book has a 12-1 on the Pacers to sweep. That seems far-fetched. I don't think they're going to sweep, but if this is really bad for Cleveland, and even Mitchell's playing tonight, but what if Mitchell is hurt and he's not 100%? All of a sudden, you're Indian, you're up 2-0 when you're going home. Again, it's not likely, but you're only a 5.5 point dog. It's not like you're a 10.5 point dog here tonight. It's possible. Then all of a sudden, it might be just a situation where Cleveland cannot get back on track here. So again, when you get major news like this, quarterback in football and cluster injuries in the NBA, they're going to move the spread you're thinking of pretty quickly. It's sometimes the team totals, the first half team totals, player props, futures market, all of that stuff might be stale. They might be a little slower to adjust to all of that because there's so many different markets with this stuff where They're just you might catch them napping in that more than you will in just the spread, which everyone thinks of.
Well, Aaron Nesmith already with a 3-pointer. So the Indiana Pacers picking up where they left off from Sunday afternoon, where they were scorching hot from beyond the arc. They lead 7-2 right now. And taking a look at the in-game market with a 7-2 lead, the Cavaliers down to a 3.5-point favorite right now over at DraftKings. So we will keep our eyes peeled on this game. Obviously, we'll be keeping you updated, seeing if there are opportunities from an in-game standpoint to potentially attack either the Pacers or the Cleveland Cavaliers. But a strong start here for the Indiana Pacers against a shorthanded Cleveland team, and we will see if that red-hot shooting for the Indiana Pacers does continue. So a 7-4 game right now, and your live line at this moment in time, 4.5, still in favor of the Cleveland Cavaliers. We got a hockey game that we'll keep our eyes on, the Hurricanes and the Washington Capitals, as a puck drop in the nation's capital going to get going here in just a little bit, as the Capitals are going off as a home dog at around plus 121 or so here at Circa. That is the number, the 5.5 juice to the over on Carolina, Washington. In our backyard here, at least my backyard, we got Edmonton and Vegas tonight, as the Vegas Golden Knights a minus 135 favorite. I do want to get your thoughts as we do have Happy Skeens Day, everyone, as Paul Skeens takes the hill for the Pittsburgh Pirates. We'll talk more about the baseball slate with Adam Burke, but any thoughts on the baseball slate, anything you're looking to attack with Paul Skeens on the hill for the Pirates against the St. Louis Cardinals?
Yeah, he's going against the Cardinals. Libertor's been pretty good. He's going for the Cardinals. I would go Skeens first. Pirates first 5 money line, Skeens first 5. I don't want any part of that dreadful offense. You know, I always give this example. If it's 2-2 after 5, do you still like your bet? I don't. I don't want any part of this game if Skeens leaves in a tie game. If it's tied, I'll just happily take my refund. But minus 125, minus 130 in that range, first 5 money line. I'm okay taking the Pirates on the money line. Skeens was shaky last time out. It was against the Cubs. He had one inning where he had 3 walks. Another inning he gave up a few homers. But underlying stuff is really good. I would expect Skeens here to bounce back. So Pirates first 5 money line.
All right, Adam Burke going to join the program coming up on the other side of the break. We'll go behind the counter twice in hour 2. Jeff Sherman and Matt Grill. Kelly Bidlin will help us preview Golden State and Minnesota. Also, the aftermath of what we saw yesterday, where both dogs came back and won, the New York Knicks as well as the Denver Nuggets. And then in the final hour, we will talk to Wes Reynolds. We'll get the latest on the Truist Open this upcoming week, as he wrote that up for VSiN.com. That's Will Hill. I'm Tim Murray. Live look at Cleveland right now. Pacers, a 9-6 lead. Your current spread at Cavaliers, minus 3.5. We're up and running. It is VSiN Primetime.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles McKenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip: when it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Arr, fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
This is an ad by BetterHelp. BetterHelp recently surveyed over 16,000 people and found that while 75% of people believe it's wise to seek support, only 27% of Americans are in therapy, and people stay silent to avoid being judged. BetterHelp has over 10 years of experience matching you with the right therapist, because we're all better with help. Visit BetterHelp.com/stopthestigma for their first ever State of Stigma report, the latest in mental health research.
This is VSiN Primetime on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We keep it rolling here. Busy evening ahead for us. We've got 2 games on the ice, 2 games on the NBA hardwood. In the nation's capital, scoreless right now, just underway between the Capitals and the Carolina Hurricanes. Hurricanes going off as a slight road favorite for Game 1 of that Eastern Conference semifinal. And 9-9 is the score right now in Cleveland with 6:47 to go in the first quarter. Live number, Cleveland minus 5.5. Total down to 220.5. So we did see late under money come in. Will down to 226.5 is where the game closed. And the start of this game certainly leaning towards an under pace without Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, and DeAndre Hunter for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So 9-9, we'll keep our eyes on that game. But we also have a busy day ahead or evening ahead in Major League Baseball. And to help us handicap the baseball slate, Adam Burke joins us right now, courtesy of our progressive guest line at Skating Tripods on Twitter. We did touch on it briefly as we've got Paul Skeens on the hill tonight for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Full game around -112 favorites are the Pittsburgh Pirates. If you do want to look a first five, if that's more of your route, -130. Anything you're looking for Pittsburgh and St. Louis tonight, Adam?
No, nothing I'm looking for in that game. I mean, the line is pretty indicative of how Matthew Liberatore's pitched here so far for the Cardinals this season. And also, I mean, the Pirates offense is not very good. And frankly, I think there's more going on with the Pirates right now. They have maybe arguably the best pitcher on the planet. They have a really young, cost-controlled guy in O'Neal Cruz. They have an ownership group that still won't spend. I think Derek Shelton has kind of worn out his welcome a little bit in that clubhouse too. So I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes with the Pirates once again that's probably leaking over to the field a little bit. So even when you've got a guy like Skeens on the bump, I still don't find myself interested in trying to bet on this team.
Another interesting game, Mets and the Diamondbacks. Gowan going against Peterson. Gowan has struggled against lefties. Mets got some lefties that can do some damage. Soto, I think, is starting to get going. Hit one off the wall last night. Got robbed of a homer the day before. What's your thoughts on this matchup, if any, and just big picture thoughts on these two teams who both look to be playing deep into October?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great start for the Mets here so far, and a lot of it has to do with, what some of their pitchers have done, and David Peterson being one of them. I mean, 3.06 ERA, 2.94 FIP. His expected ERA is a little bit high. I'm not necessarily all that worried about that right now. He's given up a lot of hard contact, but a lot of it's on the ground. Almost a 60% ground ball rate for him, so they've kind of changed his arsenal around a little bit. Get guys to beat the ball into the ground. Griffin Canning's been fantastic for them. Another really good start for him yesterday. I bet against him yesterday and it wound up costing me. But, I mean, the Mets look very, very good right now because of some of the unexpected production that they're getting from their starting rotation. I really like this Diamondbacks team as a whole. I'm not a huge Zach Gallen guy. He does give up a lot of hard contact. That kind of scares me a little bit. Seems like there's a little regression in the profile happening right now as walk rate is up this season, continuing to give up a lot of hard hit contact. I don't know if he's fully healthy, so that's kind of a concern for them with Corbin Burns getting skipped here in the rotation. That's really the thing for the Diamondbacks. I mean, they wound up having to start Ryan Nelson yesterday. They don't have a ton of depth on the starting pitching side. If one of those two horses goes down, the bullpen is not particularly deep. Their high leverage guys are pretty good, but the rest of the bullpen's not particularly deep. Great lineup, good defensive team, very skilled, very athletic team that can steal some bases, stuff like that. But their margin for error is thin, especially when you talk about what's going on in the NL West here so far with, of course, the Dodgers, the start the Padres are off to, and a pretty good start for the Giants as well.
Adam Burke's our managing editor for VSiN.com. He joins us right now, courtesy of our progressive guest line, and you can check out his daily write-ups over at VSiN.com, where he's got some best bets on Major League Baseball. A couple of games that you bet already underway, but one still to get underway later on this hour. You're looking at the total in the Astros-Brewers. Right now, 8. Depending on what you want to play, you can find not plus money, but varying juice on that 8. What do you make of the total tonight in Milwaukee?
Yeah, so there's a handful of things to kind of touch on here for this game. The first one is, Houston's without Yordan Alvarez. And while he hasn't been swinging the greatest bat here so far this season, and actually he's been quite poor against right-handed pitching, which is a bit of a surprise, he's still a guy that, can hit a nuke, a 3-run homer, or something like that really puts it under in jeopardy. So nice not to have him in the lineup, at least if you're betting it under in a game with the Astros. Hayden Wesneski's been really, really good here so far this season for Houston. They did skip him after his last start. His velocity was down a little bit, didn't have the same swinging strike rate. The stuff quality just seemed to be down in that start against the Royals. So they skipped him, gave him a little bit of extra rest. I just think he's a guy, they've really adjusted his arsenal too. Obviously, they wanted him for a reason in that Kyle Tucker deal. He's had 4 straight starts with a double-digit swinging strike rate before that start against the Royals. So I think it was a good time to skip him. I thought it made a lot of sense. Does have a bit of a barrel issue, but the Brewers are 30th in Major League Baseball in barrel rate this season, so not so worried about that here. And then Chad Patrick is a guy that the Brewers just find dudes like this. They throw cutters, they throw changeups, they're junk ball types of starters. They just find ways to maximize those types of guys, maximize that type of profile. They're doing it here with Patrick so far. Also, you look at his arsenal, and it's something that doesn't really match up all that well for the Houston offense in terms of his pitch usage. So I guess it'll be a low-scoring game. Houston's bullpen is top 5 in Major League Baseball in strikeout percentage. So I like the under 8 in this one. And, I think that's something we want to look at pretty closely here with the Astros as we move forward, because their pitching looks pretty far ahead of their hitting right now.
Yeah, staying in the AL West, Adam. The AL West fascinates me, and the AL overall, just because the AL West, I think, is a representation of the whole league and how, say, watered down but balanced it is. Seattle leads right now, but it's been more their hitting than their pitching, which is what they're known for, their pitching. Astros can't really hit, but they've got good pitching. Texas has been underwhelming. The A's, are they a sleeper? What do you make of the AL West picture and just the AL overall?
Yeah, I mean, the AL West it's a really tough thing to figure out. And frankly, it was a tough thing to figure out coming into the season, too, because you knew that most of these teams didn't have high ceilings. This is a division where 85, 86 wins very well could take it down when all is said and done. Obviously for the Rangers, I mean, two of the guys they're relying on in the pitching staff, Nate Eovaldi and Jacob deGrom, are guys who are on the wrong side of 35. So that's always a concern for me. Seattle's offense being as good as it has been so far this season, a carryover from what they did in the final month of the regular season last year. It's impressive, but is it sustainable? And if it's not, do they have a healthy George Kirby? Do they have a healthy Logan Gilbert when you start to get into that playoff stretch? Houston's a team that I think is really starting to fall off now. Their core is aging out. They look a lot different now. Their front office looks a lot different now. They're a team I'm trying to kind of fade a little bit in some of these season-long markets. And, for the A's, I mean, there's a lot of things to like about them, a lot of things to like about the Rangers as well. But I don't know. I still feel like this is Seattle's division for right now until somebody proves me otherwise and plays with some consistency.
All right, I know you're a Guardians guy. My Nats, no big deal. Took care of business earlier today, 10-9 in a wild one. But I bring up the Guardians because I'm curious where you stand. And we talked to Jensen about this yesterday on this division moving forward. It seems, right now the Tigers are the betting favorite, minus $155. Guardians at plus 390. Royals at plus 425. Do you think it is the Tigers, or do you anticipate the Guardians or the Royals to make a run here?
I don't anticipate the Royals to make a run. I mean, I think as the season goes along, Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo are going to show a little bit of attrition from the big workloads that they had last season. I wanted to fade those guys coming into this season anyway, and I think we can continue to do that as the days of the calendar kind of peel off here. I don't think the Twins are anything either. I don't think the Twins are very good. So I think this kind of comes down to the Tigers and the Guardians, but the more I watch the Guardians, the more concerned I'm getting. Not only are they far and away the biggest overachiever right now in terms of base runs record versus actual record, by base runs, which is a context-neutral run environment using run differential, runs scored and runs allowed, they should be a 13-21 team going into today. They were 20-14, so they have greatly overachieved. Hunter Gaddis doesn't look very good. Cade Smith looks a little bit iffy. Manuel Clase, of course, had a couple of days off, kind of got removed from the closer's role. The guys that they relied on in high leverage last year, who hadn't really done that role before, seem to be leaking a little bit of oil. And the bullpen is the best part of this team. So I'm getting very worried about the Guardians, and the Tigers just look clearly to me to be the best team in this division. And if they get some offense at the trade deadline, they will be a team nobody wants to face in October.
He is Adam Burke. You can hear him also on the first edition of this summer college football betting podcast. Good to be back on that front. And Adam, always appreciate it, man.
Have a good night, guys.
There he is. Adam
Thanks,
Burke,
Adam.
giving us the latest and some of his best bets for tonight, including an over or an under. I beg your pardon. I don't want to give out the wrong bet here. I want to double check that. He's giving out the under.
It's one of the two.
Astros are the. It's one of the. Just bet both, and you're guaranteed a winner, right, Will?
Yes. I didn't realize you got a college football pod out. I got something to listen to later. I'm excited.
Yeah, first one out. Should have one out later this week. All right, quick update on the NBA front. The Indiana Pacers up 16-11, total down to 220.5. 6.5 is the spread for the Cavaliers. And the Washington Capitals on a power play right now. Caps even money to beat the Hurricanes. Scoreless, 12 minutes to go in the first period.
This is VSiN PrimeTime on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Well, a strong start for the Cleveland Cavaliers, a 20-13 lead right now late in the first quarter. Of course, the big news of the day, as Darius Garland, who did not play game one, he is not playing tonight. DeAndre Hunter also out, as is Evan Mobley. But it's been a bit of a sloppy start, Will Hill, for the Indiana Pacers. Worth noting here, Jared Allen is now on the bench. He's got 2 fouls, so something to keep an eye on there. But 2:34 to go in the first quarter. A 7-point lead for the Cleveland Cavaliers, as right now Donovan Mitchell with 6 points. And we had mentioned Sam Merrill, just 1 shot, but it was a money 3 from the top of the arc, and he has 3 points right now. So 20-13 to score, 2.5 minutes to go, and it looks like the Cavs are going to get another opportunity at the free throw line, as Donovan Mitchell looks like he's going to shoot some free throws here, but a little bit slow to get up. Already 8 field goal attempts for Donovan Mitchell, as he might try to take this game over. His over-under on points tonight was sitting at 32.5.
Yes, it was, and I could see the case for why it would go up based on the fact that all these other guys are out. But we had our guest last night
Jonathan
was making the point that Mitchell was clearly not healthy, and you watch him as Mitchell. I can't tell if that free throw rimmed in or not. It did. 21-13 with 1 more to come. He had a noticeable limp, a noticeable grimace as he went down after the foul. Went for his leg, was slow to get up. So something to keep an eye on. Even though he's playing, he does not appear to be 100%. So I understand the usage perspective of taking the over, but always dangerous to take an over on a player where you're pretty sure he's not 100% healthy.
Let me ask you this, because we've been monitoring this game. I do want to actually circle back before I get another thought on Pacers-Cavaliers. We just had Adam Burke on. I know I made it a little confusing as I botched his best bet. I did clear it up, but it is worth repeating. He is in on the Houston-Milwaukee under 8 runs. So look around. You might be able to find a minus 105 out there on under 8 runs, but that game getting going here in just a little bit, and he is on under 8 runs in Houston, Milwaukee. Also, let's get a best bet from you, and I'm going to tail it, because when I tail your plays, they're good. When you tail my plays, no bueno. So let's get back in the good graces of the people. We've got Paul Skeens on the hill. We're going to put this game on in a prime spot here in the network, or on the in the studio. Paul Skeens and the Pirates on the road at St. Louis. What are we looking at, Will, for a bet here?
Just keep it simple. First 5 money line. If it's tied after 5, we get our money back. We want to bet on Skeens. We don't want any part of the bullpen. We don't want the lineup when Skeens leaves the game. We just want the Skeens innings. So Pirates first 5 money line. What are we looking at? Minus 120, 125 or so as Mitchell hits the ground once again. He'll shoot more free throws.
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell. He's throwing his body around here tonight, and he is headed back to the free throw line. 24-15, the Cavaliers with that lead. So what I was going to ask you, and I will tell you, so it's all your fault if this doesn't come home,
yes.
And I'm a genius for following you if it does come home. So at what point do we want to look at the Pacers here? Right? This is a Cavaliers team that is in a desperate spot. They're down 0-1. They need to win this game. They can't go down 0-2 headed on the road. We know about the injuries with Hunter and Garland and Mobley. Jared Allen right now dealing with a little bit of foul trouble. It's a 24-15 game. Right now we can get the Pacers plus 9.5. Remember, this closed at 5.5. Does this Cavalier team, with the limited firepower, still have Donovan Mitchell, but is this a team that maybe we want to take a juicy price on the Pacers at some point, knowing that with the limited depth, this could be a potential for a comeback situation here for the Indiana Pacers?
Maybe, but the reason these teams down 0-1 after they steal game one, and the reason they're bad in game two, I just feel like there's a complacency that sets in, a level of satisfaction. Up, we got our split on the road, and they just don't play with the same level of intensity, desperation. Meanwhile, the team that's down 0-1 feels like they're playing for their season. They feel like it's a must-win game. It is now 27-15. So no, I just don't trust the intensity level. The fact that they got the one on the road. And these guys, they all say the right thing. Oh, we came here, we're going to get greedy, we're going to win both of them. It just never seems to happen. I remember last year when Minnesota won game one in Denver, then won game two in Denver. That broke like a 17-18 game losing streak for the team that steals game one on the road. It's very, very rare that they get both on the road. So just the motivation aspect of it here would keep me away from Indiana.
Well, the desperation certainly looks like it is playing off right now. Media timeout, minute 18 to go. Your guy Sam Merrill just buried another three, his second three of the game. 27-15, the Cavaliers with a 12-point lead. Your live line now sits at Pacers plus 10.5. So if you wanted to jump in on the Pacers pre-flop, maybe you thought it went a little bit too far, you can get double digits right now with the Indiana Pacers. So we'll see if they make that run.
Who do you like? It sounds like you like the Pacers.
Well, I do. Look, I told you what I bet prior to the show, and it was before the news came out, which was a dumb revenge spot money line parlay where I had the Cavaliers linked up with the Celtics and the Thunder. What could possibly go wrong with that three-legger? And I got it around, let me double check. I think I got it at minus 115 earlier today, which obviously I could have got a better number once the news came out that the Cavaliers were going to be shorthanded. So I do have that in pocket right now. I want to talk to you more later on in the show about this Celtics-Knicks game tomorrow night, because I think I might potentially look for some alt lines with the Celtics. I think of the three teams that lost, I certainly think that they are the one that I feel most confident that they could turn it around, even though this Porzingis situation is less than ideal. But I don't know, man. I'm watching this Pacers team right now, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with the complacency. This was a team that shot, 50% from three? In game one, and right now they're 1 for 8. So look, you could see a little bit of a bounce back here, and maybe you see this Pacers team fight, but you always do wonder. Not that a Rick Carlisle team, I think, would ever really throw in the towel, but human nature sets in a little bit where you're like, look, we did what we had to do. We got to go. We get to go back home. We stole home court. Donovan Mitchell's out here playing like Michael Jordan. So we will see. But a 14-point lead right now. The Cavaliers down three key components, and they are dominating this opening quarter against the Indiana Pacers.
Would you look at it from the other perspective? If Cleveland gets a big lead with Mitchell banged up and so many guys already hurt, do they elect? We're a long ways from that. I understand that. But do you start to get greedy and say, all right, we're in good shape here. Let's sort of manage Mitchell's minutes. And again, we're not there yet, but does that thought creep into Cleveland's head?
I think it does, but it's not for a while, right? By the way, Sam Merrill just hit another corner three. So
he wasn't up anywhere. I looked at 2 books. He wasn't up.
I know. It would have been nice if you put some props up there. 32-15 after the first quarter. So right now, your live line on Cavaliers-Pacers, a game that closed 5.5 with the news of Darius Garland, DeAndre Hunter, and Evan Mobley all being out, is now sitting at 32-15 and a number of 14.5. The total has moved from 226.5 at close to 216.5. So very poor first quarter for the Pacers. Whew, man, I am a bit tempted, though. 14.5, Will. You're not tempted?
No, they don't look like they look like they did their part. They look like, you know what, we're styling. We're 1-1 heading back home, and that's not the right approach. I mean, just because you won one on the road, we've seen this plenty of times.
Step on their
steal
throats.
game one on the road. You're no lock to just win all of your home games. I know Cleveland's banged up here, but man, you really want to emphasize going for the kill. I'm not saying they're not playing hard, not trying hard. It just seems like there is a different level of intensity when you're trailing 0-1 and you're at home for game 2.
Quick update from the ice as it is scoreless at the under 6 media timeout. 5:05 to go in the first period. Caps and Canes scoreless. The Canes, a minus 160 favorite on the in-game line. Caps plus 124. Over-under has dipped down to 4.5, heavily juiced towards the over. So we will see if the first period under, something that we tried to get home last night, we'll see if that comes home here in the opening period between the Hurricanes and the Caps. Once again, scoreless, 5 minutes to go in the first period, and the Canes right now a minus 160 favorite. Hey, folks, if you're thinking about betting on baseball, Profit X is offering the best odds all baseball season long. Profit X is a peer-to-peer sports exchange available in 40-plus states, the first of its kind in the U.S. You'll be able to make your sports picks against other groups of fans rather than against sports books. Exchanges guarantee you the best odds on average by 10 to 20%. You can even request your own odds. Download Profit X today and use this code VSiN, VSIN, and earn up to $200 in profit cash over your first month. First quarter, I should say, in the books, and it was all Cleveland as they lead 32-15 after one quarter of play. Live number right now at DraftKings, Cavaliers a 13.5-point favorite. That's Will Hill. I'm Tim Murray. Get you updated on what's happening across Major League Baseball and a look ahead to the evening in hockey as well as one more NBA game.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Nicole Byer, helping you make those rooms flyer. Today's style tip: when it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild! Like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Ooh, fierce! This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
This is an ad by BetterHelp. BetterHelp recently surveyed over 16,000 people and found that while 75% of people believe it's wise to seek support, only 27% of Americans are in therapy, and people stay silent to avoid being judged. BetterHelp has over 10 years of experience matching you with the right therapist, because we're all better with help. Visit BetterHelp.com/stopthestigma for their first ever State of Stigma report, the latest in mental health research.
Little run for the Indiana Pacers. They have cut the deficit down to 14. TJ McConnell, a couple back-to-back buckets for the Indiana Pacers. 35-21, though. The Cavaliers still with that 14-point lead right now over the Pacers. And your live line at DraftKings sits at 11.5. The peak we saw was, I believe, 14.5. Not sure if it got much higher after the Cavaliers buried a three-pointer to start this quarter. So the lead got out to 20 at 35-15. But 6-0 run for the Pacers and a timeout for Kenny Atkinson and company. That's Will Hill. I'm Tim Murray. 2 minutes to go in the nation's capital, first period, that is. And the Capitals and Hurricanes are currently scoreless in that one. The Capitals able to fight off a power play, or kill a power play, I should say. And that's why the number was as high as minus 160 when we last checked. It is minus 135, and right now the total sits at 4.5, juiced minus 15 both ways at DraftKings, Will. So we're seeing a little bit of a run for the Pacers. TJ McConnell, a couple of back-to-back buckets, and a 14-point lead now currently for the Cleveland Cavaliers as they've gone a little cold from long range. Sam Merrill finally missed his first three-point attempt of the game as he's got three-pointers off the bench tonight for the Cavs.
If we've learned anything from last night and really from years of watching the NBA and just sports in general, we're not going to be quick to count this game over, to call this one a wrap here. After what we saw at the end of Denver OKC and what we saw with Boston being up by 20, we'll just let the game play out, because normally when the home team, the favorite, gets up by 17, say, just get ready for game 3. So we'll let it play out a little bit more after last night.
Yeah. So we also have a best bet going on, courtesy of Will, that I have tailed. The Pirates' first 5 money line against the St. Louis Cardinals with Paul Skeens on on the hill. O'Neal Cruz strikes out looking to start that game. So eyes on Pirates and Buccos, or excuse me, they're not playing themselves. The Cardinals and the Buccos there at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. So that one just underway. Still to come tonight, and we're going to talk more NBA coming up top of the hour with Jeff Sherman over at the Westgate Superbook. But we do have the Minnesota Timberwolves against the Golden State Warriors. And look, when you think back to conventional wisdom, right? We thought last night this Denver team might run out of steam. Well, they were down 20, and then they ultimately came all the way back and won that game against the Oklahoma City Thunder in thrilling fashion with the Aaron Gordon 3. So conventional wisdom would say, coming off of Game 7, Golden State might be a little bit tired here, but maybe that won't be the case if history tells us anything. Dogs, obviously, 3-0. Not only ATS, but straight up in the first 3 games here. Will, what do you make of Golden State and Minnesota right now? We'll call it 6.5. If you do like the favorite, you can get a 6 here at Circa.
Tough series to predict. I think Golden State, as much as I have respect for them, Minnesota's got some clear advantages. I mean, Golden State really struggles at the point of attack. I mean, they struggled. It was in Game 6 Friday night against Houston to struggle to guard Fred VanVleet, and now you're dealing with Edwards and all the size, the athleticism that Minnesota presents. I just have too much respect for Curry and throwing Butler and throwing Kerr and even Draymond to just completely dismiss them. So I think Minnesota probably wins Game 1. I'm not involved with the spread. If I had to take it or lay it, I'd probably take it and just think that Curry has enough to keep this game close. Minnesota, Golden State plus a game and a half. Ultimately, I went with Minnesota in 7 here, but it's tough because on one hand, Minnesota's got a lot of advantages in terms of the youth and the size, and now the rest. And Golden State still has Curry and Butler, and if it's a 4-point game late, Curry can steal it all by himself and throw in playoff Jimmy. So, what conclusions did you come to in this game or this series? Yeah, I think I'm kind of the opposite of you, not. In this sense that I think both of us are really non-committal. By the way, the first period over, first period under, easy winner, Capitals and Canes. Unfortunately, we hitched our wagon to the wrong first period under as we tried to make it happen last night, and instead it happens here tonight with ease as the Caps and Canes go into the locker room after 20 minutes of hockey in the nation's capital, and it is scoreless in that Game 1 between Washington and the Carolina Hurricanes. I think my thought process is more, if I had to play it, I'd probably lay it. So obviously we'll be on the air when this game starts a little after 9:30 Eastern time. So that might be an angle I look at to see how does it start off. Are we able to get maybe a cheaper price on the Minnesota Timberwolves? What I would be curious about is, the situation tonight is a little bit different, obviously, with Indiana already grabbing game number 1. But if you see Golden State go down early, and you were, all over this for Game 5, much different situation than a Game 1, but does Steve Kerr, with an aging roster, a team that doesn't have a ton of depth that they can trust in, is there a sense of maybe calling off the Dogs at some point? I'm not saying in the first half, but, in the third quarter, knowing this is a team that just played on Sunday, quick turnaround, travel to Minneapolis for this game. Do you see a situation where you get another Pat Spencer appearance for the Golden State Warriors? I think it's possible. Scenario like Golden State's down 15, 17 or more at halftime. You give it 5-6 minutes in the third quarter, and if the lead doesn't get cut into, and even if it grows, and you're talking about 23, 26 in that range, I think Kerr has been around enough. He trusts his team enough where, all right, I can pick my spots. I can steal one on the road at some point. I'm going to save my bullets here. I'm going to get my guys off their feet. I could see a scenario like that, yes.
So let me ask you, the Klay Thompson imposter, and I say that with all due respect because Buddy Hield was awesome in Game 7. He went
Oklahoma, Buddy Hield.
So his over-under tonight is 2.5 threes plus 140 to the over. Does Buddy Hield keep it rolling, or do we see a little bit of regression from Buddy Hield? You have to pay the price, right? Minus 180 to the under for Buddy Hield. But for him to hit over 2.5 threes is at plus 140. I'm just taking a look. For him to hit 2 threes, that's minus 215. So you're paying a hefty tax there.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in Buddy Hield over 2.5 threes tonight at plus 140?
Yeah, by the way, Halliburton looks like jammed his hand or his wrist, so he's in a lot of pain. So these guys are just, dropping like flies. Not that Halliburton has come out of the game yet, but he is, he was jumping around, holding his hand, favoring it. I just feel like you're buying high a little bit with Hield. He's certainly good for it, and you figure after the success he had in Game 7 that the volume, the attempts will be there, and that's obviously more than half the battle. So it'd be a lean towards the over, but I'm not like cutting in line here to lay the juice with somebody who's been as up and down as he has been. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, initially I was like, let's fade Buddy Hield. But then I look at the price, 2.5 threes, plus 140. Sometimes as a shooter, you just might be hot, and you might want to keep it rolling here. So Buddy Hield so far in this postseason, 9 3-pointers in the Game 7. But prior to that, he's been real Jekyll and Hyde. It's funny, if you just used 2.5 marker, he's gone over that 3 times. He's gone under it 4 times. He's had 3 playoff games so far with 0 threes. He's had 1 with 5, 1 with 3, and 1 with 9. So at plus 140, I think it's kind of interesting it's for a little dart throw on Buddy Hield to see if he can keep it rolling. But he is a guy that is, I would say, not one that is ultimately reliable. Think about these games for Buddy Hield. 2 points in Game 1 against the Rockets, 5 in Game 2, 17 in Game 3, 15 in Game 4, both of those coming at home, which is always thought to be role players play a little bit better at home.
Sure.
On the road at Houston, 4 points. Back home in that Game 6 debacle, 0 points, and then 33 in Game 7. So he had, prior to the 33-point explosion in Game 7, he had, as I do the quick math, 36, 41, 43 points, and then went for 33 in Game 7.
I misunderstood the first time. So the over 2.5 is plus money. The plus money sounds good there. And I think, you know what, if you're going to go that route, maybe even take a unit and a half and just sprinkle a little on the over 3.5, over 4.5.
Yeah.
Maybe lateral a little bit, because there's obviously, some upside where he hits 6 or 7 of these. I mean, it's not likely, but especially, I know role players play better on the road, but Kerr probably goes in this game saying, hey, if I'm going to steal it, I'm going to need Curry, Hield to hit a bunch of threes. So maybe the attempts stemming from all the ones he took and made on Sunday carry over here into Game 1.
Quick update before we hit a break, top of the hour, and we will talk to Jeff Sherman from the Westgate Superbook. The Indiana Pacers have just hit a 3, so they've cut their deficit down to 10. So not too long ago, it was 14.5 on a live line, and that is now down to 8.5 as Miles Turner buries a 3-pointer. So under 6 minutes to go, and the Cavaliers' lead has dwindled down to 10 right now, and the Cavaliers struggling a bit from long range, missing a 3 there. So it is a 10-point game in Cleveland right now with the Cavaliers up over the Indiana Pacers. Hey, folks, smarter bets start here and last all year long with VSiN Pro. For a limited time, we're slashing the price of our annual subscription, normally $240, now just $199. And when you sign up today, we'll throw in an extra 2 months for free. Head on over to vsin.com/subscribe and use the promo code PRO.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Nicole Byer, helping you make those rooms flyer. Today's style tip: when it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild! Like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Ooh, fierce! This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
This is an ad by BetterHelp. BetterHelp recently surveyed over 16,000 people and found that while 75% of people believe it's wise to seek support, only 27% of Americans are in therapy, and people stay silent to avoid being judged. BetterHelp has over 10 years of experience matching you with the right therapist, because we're all better with help. Visit BetterHelp.com/stopthestigma for their first ever State of Stigma report, the latest in mental health research.